Hi everybody, this is Khalid Dabbas from the Master Key of PTE. This is the second lecture in the series of introductory lectures for the PTE exam. In this lecture, we will talk about the first section of the exam, which is the speaking section. In this recording, we will address all the questions in the speaking section in terms of the general form of the question, the form of the answer to each question, the number of points that each question contributes, the scores affected by each type, and I will provide some useful tips and techniques for each type of question. Before we start, I would like to remind you of the need to write notes during watching this lecture. Pause the recording whenever you need so that you can take the notes that you need. In this way, there will be no need to re-watch the recording again, and it's preferable that you allocate 2 or 3 papers for each type of question so that you can use your notes later on while you are practicing each question. And now let's get started. The speaking section is always the first section that will appear in the exam. And even the order of the questions in this section is always the same and doesn't change. In this section, there are 5 different types of questions, and as we said earlier, the order of these questions doesn't change. Therefore, the first question in the test and in this section is the read aloud question. And the last question in this section is always the answer short question. For each of these 5 types, there is a certain number of items that will appear in the test. For example, for a describe image question, there will be 6 or 7 items. However, for repeat sentence, there will be 10, 11, or 12 items of this question. All answers that you will provide in this section will be verbal answers through the microphone. You must be sure that the microphone is open when submitting your answer, because if the microphone is closed, the software will not be able to record your answer. This note is very important for the speaking section. Once you start speaking, you should make sure that the microphone is opened, and this means that the software can hear your answers. Another important point here regarding the microphone is that if the microphone is open and you remain silent for 3 consecutive seconds, the microphone will be closed and the software will move to the next question automatically. So don't keep silent for 3 seconds if the microphone is open. In all the speaking questions, you will hear a beep sound, and this sound means that the microphone has been opened and therefore you can start speaking. This is true for all the questions in this section except for the repeat sentence and answer short question. So for the repeat sentence, you must pay attention on the screen to know that the microphone has opened and therefore you can start speaking immediately. Another important point regarding the speaking section is that for all the questions in this section, you must click on the next button immediately once you finish speaking. And the most important thing here in the speaking section is not the words that you will say, but the most important thing here is how you will say these words. So it's about how to speak. This is the key of the speaking score. This picture shows what is the effect of the speaking sections questions on the different scores in the exam. It's clear that the entire speaking score comes from the speaking section questions. This means that if our speaking score is low, then we have to look at our performance at the speaking questions only, because the entire speaking score comes from the speaking section. We can note that the speaking section questions do not affect the writing score. So there is no effect of the speaking section questions on the writing score. However, 30% of the reading score comes from the speaking section questions, and around 45% of the listening score also comes from the speaking section. This means that if the listening score is low, then this doesn't necessarily mean the problem is in the listening section itself, but it is possible that the problem is in the questions in the speaking section that contribute 45% of the listening score, and these questions include retell lecture, repeat sentence, and answer short question. This is true also for the reading score, as 30% of the reading score comes from the read aloud question. And now let's talk about the questions of the speaking section one by one, and we will start with the read aloud question. As we can see here, this is what the read aloud question looks like in the exam. And let's read the instructions first. Look at the text below. So a text will be given for each item. In 40 seconds, you must read this text aloud. So the preparation time here is 40 seconds, and the preparation time varies depending on the length of the text, and it can be between 30 and 40 seconds. So during the preparation time, try to read the entire text loudly, and to get yourself prepared until the countdown finishes. And when the countdown ends, you will hear a beep sound, and this means that the microphone has opened, and therefore we have to start speaking immediately. After we finish giving our answer, we must click on the next button immediately. The main idea for all the speaking questions, including the read aloud, is how to speak, not what to say. The content is an important thing in the speaking section, but the way of speaking is the most important. And here we are talking about fluency in speaking. Fluency is considered the key element in calculating the speaking score. Fluency in speaking is simply saying complete sentences or a group of consecutive words, and that we don't speak in the form of separate words. This is the secret in calculating the speaking score, and that's true for all the speaking questions. So always in the speaking section, we have to try to say groups of words and complete sentences. And now I will make an attempt to explain the idea of fluency in the speaking section. This is the first attempt. I will start reading here. The development of easy-to-use statistical software has changed the way statistics. Okay. Here, the speed of speaking is very slow, and therefore the fluency would be low and the speaking score as well, because I give separate words, not complete sentences or groups of words. And now I will give another attempt with very high speed. The development of easy-to-use statistical software has changed. Here, the speaking speed is very high, and thus it will be difficult for the software to understand my words. And in this case also, the speaking score is going to be very, very low. So the best way to speak for all the speaking questions is to say complete sentences clearly, to say understandable words. Now I will give the third attempt with the development of easy-to-use statistical software has changed the way statistics is being taught and learned. Here, the speaking pace is good, and the words are clear for the software to be recognized and understood, and I give complete sentences. Always remember that in all the speaking questions, if the microphone is open and you remain silent for 3 consecutive seconds, the software will consider that you have